We are just seconds away from kickoff, and we talk about the Eagles. It was Vince Young who dubbed them the dream team. All the firepower they have added. Big names, very good players. For more on that, down to the field and Pam Oliver.
But Joe, the Eagles can't knock down talk of being a dream team fast enough. As a matter of fact, they're sick of the whole thing. Michael Vick told me before the game, we have enough pressure. We do not need to add any more. Glamorous, no. Hardworking, blue collar, yes. That is the image they want to try to portray. Back to you.
All right, Pam, glad you're back with us for year number 10 as well on this production group. And if you miss the opening, Terry Bradshaw is with us, and he asked if his blue shirt make his eyes pop.
And
I think they do.
Do you?
I do.
Yeah,
I noticed that when you came into the booth earlier.
Did you really?
I did.
I feel kind of good. I feel
no,
good.
I really didn't.
Steelers won the toss, and they will receive. And Mike Tomlin has said that he will go with his starting group for about 20 to 25 plays, but let the flow of the game dictate it. And Antonio Brown, who has lit it up in camp, is waiting for the kick. Here we go. And ho-hum. After 1 week of preseason games, 74% of the opening kickoff, heck, any kickoff, is headed into the end zone as they now kick from the 35 instead of the 30. And there's that offensive line, Terry, and that's the group that has to protect number 7. You talked about it in our opening, and this is a guy that Ben likes to extend plays, but he gets pounded too.
Yeah, but you know, and they say we want to protect Ben, but if you think about it, their most exciting and most explosive plays have come when he's broken tackles and moved out of the pocket.
Starting at their 20, they fake the throw and hand to Mendenhall, who takes it up to the 24. And some of those big names, Troy, have been added for the Eagles, and they've been added defensively.
Yeah, what a group, huh? You look at Cullen Jenkins, one of those guys that they just acquired, and you think about all the things that happened this offseason in a shortened down offseason. Obviously, who would have guessed that one team, in this case it being the Philadelphia Eagles, would be able to acquire all the talent that they were able to?
Well, we've had one play from scrimmage, Terry, and already somebody's hurt.
Well, they'll say that could be a lack of the OTAs, you know, and not being able to get together and practice. I want to go quickly back to your point about 74% of the kickoffs so far have been in there. Why don't they, Troy, just take the ball and place it on the 20-yard line, because they're trying to protect players. Just put it on the 20 and let's go.
Well, that's what, you know, that is the first thing you think about. You say, okay, well, why even then have a return? But then you're talking about some players that are going to be out of work, you know. And so that's probably one of the factors. And I know for the fans, they certainly like to see it. This is really tough right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers when you consider the things that are happening along that offensive line and some of the players that they're having to take a good look at. And now they lose Jonathan Scott, their left tackle, on the very first snap.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that they've been able to at least count on. And now he's hurt with a helmet to the knee. Here's Mendenhall, who's rushed for 24 touchdowns over the last 2 years, picking up 5, third down and a yard coming up.
You know, and if you look at the year last year that Rashard Mendenhall had, you know, there's a lot of people who really questioned him down the stretch. I was not one of those. I thought that he ran very well. He went up against some awfully tough defensive units, particularly in the playoffs. But for someone to rush for 1,200 yards last season in really what was a makeshift offensive line, I thought was pretty impressive.
They go play action on 3rd and 1, and one of the favorite targets for Big Ben is Heath Miller. He's got 11 and a first down. And Ben took a preseason hit.
Well, they do it off of play action there, and you see the hit then that Roethlisberger takes. Heath Miller, he just releases off the line, but because of the play action in the backfield, it then got Nate Allen playing the run, and it opened up that void then for Heath Miller.
Absolutely shocked that a flag wasn't thrown for that hit late at the knees of Roethlisberger, who steps up and floats it and hits, instead of David Johnson, linebacker Moses Foku. It's 2nd and 10.
Are you surprised so far that coming in, I thought tonight, because both of these quarterbacks felt that they would see a lot of pressure, a lot of blitzes from both of these coordinators. I have not seen a blitz yet. Not one blitz from the Eagles at all zone.
Well, that was one thing that certainly Michael Vick struggled with down the stretch last year, and something that really wrecked his quarterback rating in the last 6+ games of the season. We'll give you those stats when we see Vick. Here's Mendenhall. Penalty flag flies, and a tackle is made after a gain of 2. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie in on the stop along with Cedric Thornton. Now they just threw another flag late.
Holding. Number 19. Offense. 10-yard penalty. Replay, 2nd down.
So it's just one foul. Meanwhile, talk about those changes up front. Tony Hills, who has been, well, they're trying to groom him as a tackle. He is starting at right guard. Scott started this game at left tackle. Now you see Marcus Gilbert, their 2nd-round pick. He's in the lineup at left tackle. Ramon Foster's at left guard. And it's Willie Colon, who spent all of last year on IR with a bad Achilles, at right tackle, with their star Marquise Pouncey at center. 2nd down and 20, and this one is bobbled and incomplete, with Antonio Brown getting his hands on it, but no catch. It's now 3rd and 20.
Antonio Brown was that young player last year who didn't do much in the first half of the season, but in the second half he really became very productive and was excellent then in the postseason. A game-winning catch against Baltimore in the postseason, and then a game-clinching reception against the New York Jets. And boy, he has come into this season really lighting it up in training camp. Every coach that we spoke to was talking about how well conditioned he was, which was not the norm for these players. No matter how hard they worked in the offseason, you just can't get into football shape.
On 3rd down, a penalty flag flies, and Roethlisberger goes down, and it's the new guy, Colin Jenkins, who made the play.
Personal foul. Face mask. Number 97.
Wow.
Defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic. 1st down.
So an automatic 1st down and a fresh set of downs for the Steelers.
You see Colin Jenkins here, 97. Of course, we talked about him coming in this year from the Green Bay Packers. This is what he's going to give the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, he came in and he got the headgear and he grabs the face mask, as you're going to see right here. But you saw the inside push, and that's something that this Eagles defense is going to love from Colin Jenkins, a pass rusher from the middle of the interior of the line, and then to still be able to get the outside pressure that they're invariably going to have from Trent Cole and Jaquay Parker.
Terry, you can draw on that telestrator if you want.
How do you turn it on?
I know it's kind of ripcord. Pass is dropped off to Isaac Redman. He's up to the 45, and we go down to Pam Oliver. Go ahead, Pam.
Well, Jonathan Scott, Joe, has a right knee injury. They're unsure if Scott will return, if he'll make it back for the game. Back to you.
So what it does, and there's a flag down on that completion to Redman. It gives Marcus Gilbert, a 2nd-round pick out of Florida, a chance to play with the top unit. And these are really 2 offensive lines that come into this preseason, into this game in particular, with a lot of question marks.
Well, and Marcus Gilbert is a guy that...
There is no foul for an unnecessary late hit after the play. 2nd down.
You know, they drafted him in the 2nd round, and they're expecting a lot from him, at least when they drafted him in April. Now, what happens is there's no football, as we know, and so you've got young offensive linemen, a difficult position to come in and play well at, I believe, in the NFL. And the Eagles are faced with the same situation with their young player in Danny Watkins, and you just don't know if they're going to have enough time in these 4 preseason games to show enough to have the confidence of a coach to start him in week 1.
It is 2nd down and 3. It's Redman on the ground, and he looked like he had enough for a 1st down, then went backward. Terry, the ball was down. They're going to rule it, and it's enough for a 1st down. This is like throwback football. There were no OTAs when you were the first overall pick.
We had to get jobs. We left. The game was over with, and the season was over with, and we went home and we either finished school, which I had to do. Even though I did graduate with honors, it did take me 5 years to get out.
That's okay.
And that's kind of shocking. But I went back and then I sold used cars, Troy. And
I bet you were good at it too. I'd have hired you.
Yeah, that's how I sold used cars.
See, that's the difference. I would have said I would have bought one from him, and you said I would have hired
you. You know, it took me 20 years to get out of college.
Here is a pass incomplete from Mike Wallace, and again, Roethlisberger ends up on the ground.
How's your throw?
It's all right. It's getting better.
Is it?
It's getting better.
Yeah, I wondered. I was listening.
It's kind of a sultry.
It's kind of
sultry.
It's kind of. I don't. How to say it, but it's kind of like it's kind of a sexy thing, really. I think you should keep it.
You just said it.
Yeah, that sets it up pretty good, right?
And it makes me feel good as we go through this first
sure?
quarter.
Does it?
Appreciate it.
Troy wanted to say it, but I said it for him.
No, thanks for stepping in.
That's why I'm here.
This is the 10th play of the drive, and it's Redmond again who's been busy and who will get more work here in his second year after really coming on and then having a good camp. He gained 2.
Hey, Troy, you look around this stadium. Are you surprised with the Eagles and the Steelers here that this place isn't just packed?
No.
Really?
No, I'm not. Well, I'm not, only because I think the fans recognize that it's preseason. You know, that's been the debate going on for a number of years. And even though these season ticket holders have to buy these tickets for the preseason, I think Roger Goodell has said it, that the fans don't want to watch this.
Are they watching us?
Absolutely. Okay. 3rd down and 8. Roethlisberger all day and a first down completion to Arnaz Battle.
Now that's what they want. That's what the Steelers offensively want to see from their offensive line. That's Ben being able to drop back, read the coverage, and actually hold the ball longer than you would like, but stepping up, not moving up, but just steps up. Nice job. Nice lob pass right there. First down.
Absolutely. And you give Ben Roethlisberger that kind of time, really any quarterback in this league, they're going to find somebody that's able to get open. I don't care, Nnamdi Asomugha or Deion Sanders or anyone else isn't going to be able to stay with a receiver for that long.
This is a defense that had 6 sacks and another flag as Mendenhall is wrapped up after a gain of 1.
Holding. Number 65. Offense. 10-yard penalty. First down.
And that's the rookie, the 2nd-round pick, Gilbert. This is a Philly defense that came up with 6 sacks in their win over Baltimore in week 1 of the preseason. And there's our first look at Juan Castillo, who for 13 years was the offensive line coach, and now he's the D coordinator.
How's that happen? Huh? I guess if you're good on offense, that you're certainly qualified to excel on defense.
Here is a quick snap, and Roethlisberger with the middle of the field open just took it for 9. Let's go back to Castillo. Troy, it is a pretty interesting story.
Well, it is. There's no question. Now, you've got to remind yourself that he was a defensive guy. He played linebacker in college. He played linebacker in the USFL. He came into the league actually with Ray Rhodes as a defensive assistant, quality control assistant, but then they made the switch with him to the offensive side of the ball, and he became one of the best in the game. He kept reminding Andy Reid, hey, I'm a defensive guy. If there's ever an opportunity, I want to do that. I still think it was a bold move by Andy Reid to trust him with that defensive unit.
This one dropped off for Mendenhall, who takes it inside the 30.
Because especially when you realize that the Eagles are a team that like to play aggressive, bump around on the outside and be aggressive with their linebackers. When you take an offensive guy, I always thought quarterbacks are more rounded because we have to study defenses actually as much or more so than we study offenses, so that we're qualified to get on the other side to coach an offensive side as a coach, though, and then be a coordinator on the defense. That's a little bit, that's a little bit out of the norm.
Pretty good drive that has been extended by that Colin Jenkins penalty. It's now 3rd and 6.
Got him.
Roethlisberger wide open. Touchdown, Antonio Brown.
Well, we've talked about the Eagles wanting to bring the slot defender. You're going to see Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie come off the edge right there, and then you see Roethlisberger's able to hold it. Now, as soon as he holds it, you've got Asante Samuel cluing the quarterback. He's expecting a slant. He's expecting the ball to come out quick because he knows they're bringing an extra defender that the offense can't block. He gets caught looking, easy touchdown.
I even saw Terry Bradshaw raise his right arm like he was going to throw it to Brown.
Blitz control, right, Troy? Boom.
And Antonio Brown wide open. Got around Asante Samuel. Oops. 7-0 Pittsburgh.
Tonight's game is sponsored by Chevrolet and their award-winning cars, trucks, and crossovers.
Okay, pace, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the voice of Terry Bradshaw as we welcome back the entire United States watching preseason football on the heels of a 14-play, 80-yard drive.
Got a cough button?
No, we do it right here.
Yeah, this isn't like a pregame where you just call whenever you want. You know, I mean, sometimes there's a protocol.
Got to be careful up here. This stuff
and don't stumble on Joe either. Give him some space.
I've heard. I won't. I'll leave her alone. No problem here.
Bradshaw's a close talker, we're finding out. Seinfeld wouldn't like it. And guess what?
Oh, no.
Another exciting kick return in the NFL. Antonio Brown, Mike Tomlin, it may be preseason, but they can still smile.
Go back and look at that scoring play. It's actually Nate Allen from the safety position that came to Ben's front side. Here you've got Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. He's blitzing on the backside, but because Nate Allen hesitated, he was actually a free rusher, but he hesitated to try to knock the ball down. And you see Asante Samuel cluing in on Roethlisberger and allowed for the touchdown.
There'll be some fantasy owners that might want to take note of Antonio Brown. Meanwhile, as Vic takes over, the Eagles start at their 20, down by 7. Little rollout by Vic, and he's going to air it out. Nothing is there, and incomplete. Deshaun Jackson, who had his 11-day holdout, was the intended target. Here are the backs and receivers, but again, Troy, the questions are really up front for this Eagles team like it is for Pittsburgh.
And more than really it is for Pittsburgh and most teams around the league for a team with such high expectations. I mean, you're talking about the entire right side of the offensive line that's being evaluated. I asked Marty Morningwig on a weekly basis, and he said no, on a daily basis. The center, right guard, right tackle, that's in flux right now.
On second down, Vic slings it, and there is Deshaun Jackson again. Good for 9, and we'll look at this defense. And if you tuned in during Super Bowl 45, you're not going to see a lot of different names along the defense for the Steelers once the regular season begins. They're all back.
A little old.
Older.
Seven,
old.
7 of these guys are, as I said on the top of the show, 30 years of age. Good young kids coming up, though. They got 3 guys out there that they drafted that really like.
There's a Hall of Famer, Dick LeBeau, who directs that defense. It's 3rd and 1. McCoy has it. Shifts the ball to the outside arm and picks up 8.
You go back to the first offensive snap for the Philadelphia Eagles. They try to take a deep shot down the field to Deshaun Jackson. How many times did we see that last year on the first play of the game? They became a big play offense, and they connected on that a lot of times to start these games. Deshaun Jackson, I know Michael Vick was sure excited to get him back. And I've got to tell you, Terry, I think this guy, this guy is grossly underpaid, and I think the Eagles want to pay him and they want to make him happy, but circumstances with the owners opting out of the CBA and then this year with the lockout, they just haven't really known what to do with it.
Here is McCoy over the right side, picks up 4.
You can't, but then you look at what they've done and going out and signing all the free agents, the people they bring in, Jenkins and Brown, and you ask yourself, and giving these guys $1 million, million, $3 million. Why wouldn't you play a guy that is going to win games for you? That's what Jackson does. He wins games. He not only does it catching the football and on reverses, but he also does it on special teams where he is some kind of exciting.
Oh, he's a dynamic player. There's no doubt about that. I just think that they weren't real sure, the Eagles front office, they didn't know what rules they were going to be playing by. So how exactly do you try to structure a deal? My guess he'll get something done here fairly quickly.
Yeah, there are other facets to that as McCoy goes nowhere. And it's Woodley who was rewarded with a new deal making the play. First of all, we've said before, Philly is one of the best run organizations in the NFL. In the contracts they did back in 07, 08, they were preparing for this year where they would have some freed up money with a lot of extra free agents. They took advantage of that. If they can redo Vic's deal, extend him, they'll have money to sign Jackson here quickly.
Well, he's franchised Vic. What is that, $15 million for
16.
Vic? $16 million? A lot of money.
Deshaun Jackson's making $600,000. It's 3rd down and 4. Tipped and incomplete. Avant, the intended receiver.
Well, when you have your quarterback going public and saying how valuable Jackson is to your football team, that does carry a lot of value to it.
I tell you right here, Michael Vick was fortunate that ball got tipped, because if it hadn't have gotten tipped, you got Troy Polamalu who read it right from the start, and he would have been there to make the interception.
And that was Timmons who got his hand on it, and Polamalu had 7 picks and was a defensive player of the year last year.
They still have the punt in, though, huh?
They do.
Okay, that's good.
You can return a punt.
Okay, good. I've been out of the country.
And Hawaii is part of the United States.
Oh, since when?
Since it's been a while.
Okay. Well, TV.
Yeah.
I don't have TV yet.
A 15-yard roll. The end of a punt of 52 yards. Steelers have it up 7.
Tonight's game is sponsored by HTC. At HTC, every innovation we create is inspired by you. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Well, there was no more sought-after free agent than Nnamdi Asomugha. How do you say it? How do you spell it? Even his teammates don't know.
Nnamdi Asomugha.
What?
Asomugha.
Not even close.
Nnamdi Asomugha or something.
When somebody starts spelling it. All I know is it starts with an N.
A-M-D-I. That's hard.
N-N-A-M-D-I. A-S-O-M-U-G-H-A. What's so hard about that?
He is a 3-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, and they just simply didn't throw his way when he was with the Raiders.
Well, no, you look at his stats, and they're pretty modest. They're not real impressive. 11 interceptions in 8 seasons, but it's like you said, Joe, nobody throws it in his direction. He only averages about 1 or 2 throws a game his way.
Here is Mendenhall, room to run. Gets 9.
I will tell you, though, having played with Deion Sanders, what happens then is that guy opposite of him better be awfully good, because when you break down a defense, as you well know, Terry, you take who's the best corner and then you attack the other guy. And so that other guy, no matter how good he might be, if he's not better than Nnamdi Asomugha, then he's going to get a lot of opportunities. That's going to be Asante Samuel.
Yeah.
I wouldn't relish in that if I was a quarterback. But then you start losing a little confidence if guys start hitting some balls. Sometimes it works against you for that other corner.
And then you have to be careful not to let your pride get the best of you, too. Another job. Nice job outside off tackle.
And it's Jonathan Dwyer, who's lost 20 pounds since the start of camp with a first down.
Guys like Asomugha, you have to give them a nickname early and get it out of the way. And I know if I were doing these games, and I pray he never intercepts the ball, so I have to do a highlight on it because I know I will never get it. I'm gonna get it right.
Well, what's his nickname then?
I'll get him one.
Franchise?
I'll find him one. Franchise. Huh? I'll find him one. You know, another thing they used to do to Deion, when they would run Deion off, Troy, and then they would cross underneath and fill his lane where the void he left, and that was the success they had throwing in his area, not necessarily at Deion.
Well, he used to go weeks without getting the ball thrown at him.
Did you throw at him in practice?
Here's Mendenhall. One-handed catch. How about that?
Nice.
Beautiful athletic ability by a big back. 225 pounds, good for 12.
The answer to that question, Terry, is yes, I would.
Did you?
Well, it's the only way you're going to get better. And I had Michael Irvin. You think he was going to settle for not getting the ball thrown?
I think the viewers would want to know. Okay, who won? Who won most of those matchups?
It was a pretty good matchup for those two guys, both when they played against each other in practice, but as well as in the games.
Yeah.
Going back to when he was with the 49ers as well as the Falcons.
I see Buck as a corner, don't you? I see that quickness.
I'm seeing him as a right guard.
Here is a handoff to Isaac Redmond, who's been busy here in this opening quarter. I can't run, and I don't like to hit. So corner's out.
Well, then you need to play quarterback.
Yeah.
You're tall enough.
I'm not when I stand next to Aikman. I meet people in an airport. They're like,
well, Troy,
I mean,
5'8". I'm 6'3" back in my good days. I'm not anymore, but standing next to Troy, Troy, you're 6'5"?
No, I'm 6'4".
Serious? I look 6'1" next to you. I mean, you're a big man.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome, buddy. Second down and 10. Tap came across early, and Redmond breaks loose. The penalties on the defense, and you're right, Terry, they do.
Yeah.
And that play should count 16 yards.
No, it was everybody kind of let up a little bit.
Offside. Defense, number 55. That penalty's been declined. Result of the play, 1st and 10.
Isaac Redmond, he just kept it alive and was able to dance his way through the line of scrimmage and pick up a pretty good gain. And I like this Isaac Redmond. You know, going back to last year, he only averaged about 3 to 4 carries a game, but he's awfully good in pass protection. I think he's a much better runner than he probably gets credited for.
Our director, Rich Russo, showed you second-round pick Marcus Gilbert, who was along the sideline. We'll try to get a report from Pam as to what's wrong with him as Redmond gets it again, picks up 5. And now the Steelers have lost 2 left tackles, and Tony Hills is back out in his usual tackle spot.
I got to tell you, you know, Terry, you touched on it earlier in that you haven't seen a lot of blitzes. Of course, we saw it there on the touchdown that Ben Roethlisberger had, but you know, this preseason is different than others because these guys have not played. They haven't spent the offseason together, and I think you've got to do more of the things that you're going to do once the regular season starts. I'm a little concerned right now, and I know that this is just the second preseason game, of what I've seen so far from this Eagles defense.
Here is Mendenhall, brought down a yard shy of a first down, and penalty flag is back near Ben.
Well, if you have a veteran football team, which they do, chances are
there's no foul on the play.
You know this. You kind of pace yourself, especially big guys. They pace themselves. They're not really, you know, what you call just getting at. I always thought when we played the Eagles in preseason, heck, it was a knockdown drag. Matter of fact, I played most of the game. That's how important it was for the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat Philadelphia.
Have you paced yourself here tonight with us?
You know what? I'm starting to come out. I'm starting to come around. I'm getting over the jet lag, and I'm a little tired.
You're going to stick around for quarter 2?
I got a song or 2 in me before this is over with.
Oh my! Wow.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be pretty good.
That'll keep them going.
Troy and I have a song.
A duet from Aikman and Bradshaw. 7-0 Steelers after 1. Well, you look at this great city on a beautiful night, and the overhead pictures are brought to you by DirecTV. For the most sports in HD, call 1-800-DirecTV. And down below, if you're the Eagles, offensively they've had 1 possession. Meanwhile, defensively and all the firepower and dream team and all that, the Steelers put up 137 total yards on them against the starters in the opening quarter. Here's a first down carry for Redmond. The word on Marcus Gilbert, a left knee injury, and no status as to whether he will return. There are the stats, and the numbers aren't very good for this top defensive unit of the Eagles.
Yeah, no, they're not good, and you know that was a concern. I mean, Juan Castillo is trying to assimilate this defensive unit with all the talent that they have, and they've been working on a lot of different things, line up these corners in different positions. You know, linebacker position is a little bit of a concern. There's no question. They got a rookie that they're going to be relying on in the middle, but they do have the talent. Now it's about bringing them together and getting them in a system they believe in.
Ben flips it. They're saying that's a live ball.
Well,
they didn't rule incomplete, and we'll see where they mark it.
Sorry, Joe.
No, go ahead.
I'm just hadn't done this.
Doesn't matter. Go ahead.
20
Jump
years.
in.
But one of the things, Troy, you were saying their linebackers are weak. They're not very big, 6'1". And the fact that you're going to play a 4-3 defense and the middle linebacker is the guy running to make tackles, boy, you better be able to protect him. He better be able to deliver a blow. And you know, to me, the teams are just going to line up, in my estimation, and go after him, especially NFC East, as big as those guys are running the football, and that's going to be a problem for Philadelphia.
Talking about Casey Matthews, who is 6'1", 230, fourth-round pick out of Oregon. They are young up the middle, and Mendenhall takes it up the middle and picks up 6. How about the other end of it, Troy? On that touchdown throw, we saw Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie coming on a blitz. Well, if they want to try to turn him into Charles Woodson, that's not something that Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie has done. He's been more of a just cover corner, and that's asking him to do something he's never really had to do.
Well, I think if you're going to have 3 corners like the Eagles have on their roster, you've got to get them on the field. And so they have talked about trying to do what the Green Bay Packers did last year, play a lot of nickel defenses, 3-5 defensive backs.
Blitz coming, and a wide open Mewelde Moore. Right to the area. The blitzer vacated. And a gain of 24.
Well, there's just a miscommunication there on the play, and some of the things that we've talked about. You're going to see linebacker here comes. And then they bring the safety as well. Nate Allen again on a blitz. One of those guys, and it looked like it probably should have been Nate Allen, that was then going with Mewelde Moore in coverage. But instead, there's a miscommunication. Both guys blitz, and no one's accounting for the tailback easy swing pass.
And Troy, they came right in the face of the quarterback, which made it very easy for him to see the blitz.
They fake the throw. Mendenhall dancing around, gets nothing. Casey Matthews was in the middle, made the stop.
But to go back to the reference of the Green Bay Packers, they were able to play that defense and hold up pretty well against the run, because they had a guy like Charles Woodson on the slot position. And Charles Woodson's like a linebacker. You know, I mean, he covers obviously like a corner, but he plays the position like a linebacker, so he was there in run support. And I go back to what you said, Joe. You're right. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, I think he's a great talent, but he's not that type of player that Charles Woodson is, and nor is anyone else that's on that roster as a defensive back.
Well, he's not known as a hitter. And they're asking him maybe to do just that. They're going to say that Roethlisberger was in the grasp. Jason Babin, who comes back to the Eagles after a 12.5 sack year last year in Tennessee. Number 93 had his arms around number 7.
Yeah, they're just hoping that Babin's going to play the run, because he had a free run then at Ben Roethlisberger in the backfield. But, you know, here was a guy who had a brief stop here in Philadelphia a few years back, had never had more than 5 sacks in a season. Last year, under the tutelage of new defensive line coach Jim Washburn in Tennessee, had 12.5, and he made a lot of money coming to Philadelphia this year.
Sacks are sexy.
Another long drive put together by the Steelers. Another touchdown. Hines Ward.
Roethlisberger, he's able to buy some time, rolling out to his right. Hines Ward came from the left side of the field. You're going to see they're in zone coverage. Actually, Hines was to his front side. He started to the middle of the field, and he just turns around Nate Allen.
Saw that Ben was in trouble and then broke the route off. Most receivers are taught, when you see your guy in trouble, come back and help him out. He did. He got rewarded by catching a touchdown.
And then I think Hines Ward did the Paso Doble dance at the end of it. the reigning champion of Dancing with the Stars.
Kickoff's coming up. I can't hardly stand myself.
What do you think's going to happen? Another touchback after another touchdown from one of the greats in this franchise's history, Hines Ward. Well, no franchise has won as many Super Bowls as this great Steelers organization that won 6. But here are the images of them walking off the field in Arlington, Texas at the end of Super Bowl 45, and a team determined with 20 guys coming back who started in that game back with the Steelers to get there to Indianapolis in Super Bowl 46.
Well, anytime you lose a Super Bowl, it's a huge disappointment, obviously, and then you think about all the chances that you could have had to win it. Turned the ball over 3 times in that game and still had a chance late with just a 6-point deficit.
And it's another touchback. You know what I could do? I could return kicks now in the NFL. I can't run, but you don't need to.
You don't need to, exactly.
Well, we look ahead as you look at PNC Park and we talk baseball. The Reds will be here against the Pirates. They're the other matchups, and that is Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Gillette Fusion Pro Glide starting at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific this Saturday here on Fox. The Eagles need to do something to feel better about themselves as they're down 14-0. The defense is wondering what happened here after a pretty good showing against Baltimore in a win week 1 of the preseason. Second possession for the Eagles on offense. And a quick throw to Jackson. And Deshaun goes backward. A loss of 1.
Yeah, you think about this Pittsburgh team, Joe, and we touched on it going to break about the loss in the Super Bowl, and what that must have been like for these players then throughout the offseason, not to get a chance to get right back out on the field and get back into it and kind of get that feeling out of their system. But in some ways I think it was probably good. I do think that this team, because of all the veteran players on this team, probably benefit the most if there is someone who benefits from that lockout.
Vick slings a strike to Cooper for a first down. And Riley Cooper in his second year is good for 16 yards.
To follow up a little bit with what Troy was saying, if you've won Super Bowls, that a little extra time away helps you in that respect. And I certainly understand it. If you lost it, you want to get back out. And then also for the viewers, I don't think there's a quarterback in this league, maybe Aaron Rodgers, that can snap it off, throws as pretty a pass, and it's got some serious mustard on it like Vick.
Vick was a comeback player of the year last year in the NFL. Went to the Pro Bowl. Took over as a starter in week 2. Suffered his own injury, but it's the only thing really that slowed him down. Carr's picked off by Clark. And Ryan Clark on the overthrow is to the Philadelphia 30.
Well, Michael Vick just doesn't see Ryan Clark. Now they bring the linebacker blitz. You're going to see these guys come up. So Ryan Clark's back here. Vick is thinking that he's got one-on-one on the outside. Doesn't even have to worry about a safety going over the top. Ryan Clark read it the entire way. Just saw where Vick was going to go with the ball. Makes an easy interception.
Yeah, if you're throwing to the outside, we anticipate being safe with our pass. But if you lead the guy back to the inside, you have plenty of time to see who's coming over on top to help double up on the outside. That time Mike just didn't see it.
And one of the things Michael Vick has really spent time on this offseason is getting better pre-snap looks, knowing when the blitz is coming, where he can go with the football. That time he just didn't pick it up.
That was Gilmore in motion, and this is Leftwich at quarterback, handing it to Isaac Redmond, good for 1. So here is Byron Leftwich, who last year only threw 7 passes. Was injured last season in that early part of the year when Roethlisberger was out with a 4-game suspension.
Now, I've always kind of I'll get back.
Go ahead.
I'll
Go
get
with
back
that
to that
thought.
later. Finish my thought,
That
Terry.
hasn't slowed down Terry yet.
What's the chances of that
Isaac
happening?
Redmond is injured. Back after this. Isaac Redmond was able to get up and walk off the field without much of a limp, but here is the end of the play on that 1-yard carry. He got that hit. And Casey Matthews along the left leg. That's what they're checking out over on the sideline at 2nd and 9. After the Ryan Clark interception, Leftwich overthrows everyone and ends up on the ground. Antonio Brown, the intended target.
You look at the end of this play, and Byron Leftwich, you're going to see that they come in at the helmet. And in years past, this would have been a penalty, no question. But this year, they're a little more lenient on it to where they're not going to call it, I guess, quite as closely if they feel that the guy comes in and hits the helmet but didn't intend to necessarily hit the helmet. A pretty good play, actually.
It's 3rd down and 9. Good pocket for Leftwich, who throws it into the ground, and Byron Leftwich and his mechanics have never changed. He has that long delivery, and it's 3 and out.
You know, they say this about Tim Tebow, and there's been some discussions made, some very harsh criticism of his delivery, which I happen to say leave it alone. He's fine. The guy's pretty good college guy, and I think he'd be a good pro too. And Byron is one of those guys that same thing, got a long delivery. Throws a hard ball. It's slow getting out.
Yeah, and different guys have looked at him and they talk about seeing if they can do something about speed. That's just
leave him alone.
I've always felt that at this level you can't make changes like that.
This is Swayze Waters, and he has his kick blocked. And that wasn't even close with protection. It was Asante Samuel who got in there and blocked it, to the delight of Bobby April, the special teams coach of the Eagles. And so now Philly will take over, and Waters never had a chance. Samuel got a lot of ball. The Eagles have it, down 14.
Tonight's game is sponsored by Warner Brothers Pictures Contagion, in theaters September 9th, and by Corona Extra, who invites you to find your beach.
Well, you're going to have to trust me that the banter in the booth is way better during the break than it is during the actual live play.
We got to fire ourselves up here, man. These Eagles have got to get it going.
How many cups of coffee have you had?
I've had 3 so far, and I'm going to get 4.
That is Terry Bradshaw and Troy Aikman. Pam Oliver down on the sideline. Here's a handoff to McCoy. And he reverses field, picks up a 1st down, is shoved out of bounds by Keenan Lewis, and we go back to that blocked field goal. Asante Samuel.
Asante Samuel right here. There really wasn't much to it. I mean, he's able to get the pressure, and you're going to see where this ball hits him. I mean, he's got good hands. He could have caught that and kept on running with it. So, just a ball with the trajectory that they just never got at the height that needed to be made to give it a chance to go.
You like that telestrator? You like doing that?
No, it's okay. I mean,
it's all right. C A B C what?
Huh?
Give yourself a grade on it.
I'm probably C. Yeah.
Polamalu jumps in front of Selleck.
Circle that wrong guy.
Pretty good reaction there by Troy Polamalu. The pressure coming off the edge with James Harrison. Had 2 back surgeries this offseason. I have to believe there's a little bit of concern for him, this year. Of course, he had an interesting offseason as well. Right, Terry?
You think?
I'm going to let you go into that because I don't want to upset him.
No, you might have to cover him during the year.
On 2nd down and 10, Vick.
Oh, no.
Just forced it.
No.
And he's picked off by Keenan Lewis. And there was nothing there.
Yeah, man, you asked yourself, what did he see? What's he looking at? Because 1, 2, 3, there's 3. There's another one underneath, one on top. Not a good read.
So Vick has thrown 2 picks. Another turnover. Steelers have it up 14. Michael Vick has completed 5 passes, 3 to the Eagles, 2 to the Steelers. 1 to Ryan Clark, the last one to Keenan Lewis, and that sideline has got to be wondering when it's going to kick in. Starting defense still out there. Antonio Brown throws left-handed, incomplete for Arnaz Battle. They go down to the field and Pam Oliver.
But Joe, I noticed defensive coordinator Juan Castillo pretty much spends all of his time on the sidelines working with the linebackers. He seems to oversee the whole thing, but the linebackers are pretty much getting all of his attention here tonight.
Well, as we mentioned, Pam, it's a rookie middle linebacker. You got Jamar Chaney, who is a second-year player, and Moses Foku, who's a third-year player. They're young up the middle at safety too.
Yeah, and that's the concern is some of the youth. But at the linebacker position, I do know that up to this point, they're pretty pleased with Casey Matthews. I mean, they say the game's not too big for him, which you would expect with the family he's from.
Here is Redmond. Good to see him back in the game, and Cole is in there to make the stop.
But that's as Terry touched on, that's an important part of any defensive team, and you got to have a real presence, there in the middle. That now the fallback position is if it doesn't work out for Casey Matthews, then they go with Jamar Chaney and kind of reshuffle the deck then there at that linebacker position. But there's no doubt, Terry, that the linebacking core overall, just because of some of the youth and what they're trying to do, is a bit of a concern.
They're fast, they're quick, they're small.
It is 3rd down and 14. Penalty flag, and Leftwich stays upright and now completes. That's Jericho Cotchery in his first game with the Steelers, but it is a hold against the Steelers.
Holding. Number 61. Offense. 10-yard penalty. 3rd down.
And that is Chris Scott.
You see at the end of this play, Kurt Coleman came in the safety and puts a hit there on Byron Leftwich, and actually did a nice job, because from here you saw Coleman coming at Leftwich and you're thinking, man, he could put a big hit on him, one of those that would be penalized. But maybe some of these rules are starting to really get the attention of these players as to how you tackle these guys. Not easy to do. I think sometimes when you sit in a room and you're talking about player safety, it's easy to talk about how you're supposed to hit, but everybody's just reacting when they're on the field. That was a nice job by Kurt Coleman.
If the rules don't get their attention, the fine should. How about another for Cotchery? And right up the heart of this defense.
That was nice.
That was nice, and that's why they brought Cotchery in, and he's the guy that can work the middle of the field on these seam routes and these intermediate types things. Byron Leftwich brings it from the hip, but he throws a perfect strike. I know Bruce Arians was excited about the addition of Cotchery because he didn't have to try to develop another young receiver like he did a year ago, and this guy's played. He's played well, and he gives them a presence there in the middle.
That was 29 yards on 3rd down. And the Steelers are now 7 for 9 on 3rd down as Mewelde Moore gets back to the line of scrimmage.
If you have, talking about the Eagles defense, if you have powerful tackles and real good ends on the outside, then you can have smaller linebackers. I mean, you can hook up everybody up front and let these guys run. We had Jack Lambert here. He played at 220. But we ran a stunt 4-3 where Joe Green actually tilted his body and dominated the guard and the center, freeing up Jack to go wherever he wanted to go. So they don't necessarily have that right now.
It is 2nd down and 10.
Football talk. You like that?
I do.
Thanks.
Proud of you. Mewelde Moore gets 3 as Coleman made the stop, and that is 9 tackles for Kurt Coleman already.
Well, Mike Tomlin challenged this Pittsburgh team after last week's performance in the first preseason game. He was not happy. He wanted them to come out with more urgency. And you see the way that Pittsburgh has played. They've looked very good. On the other hand, the Eagles have not. I wondered with the lockout, how would that impact the way these coaches played their veteran players or their starters, and it hasn't changed. And I don't know that I agree with that. Yeah, you're worried about injury, but I really thought that this year it would take on a little different look to try to get these players acclimated back into the game. The Eagles need a lot of work from what I've seen tonight.
3rd down and 7, and Arnaz Battle has a first down inside the 40.
There's that big windup you were talking about, Terry.
I don't have a problem with that windup whatsoever. I don't have a problem with a guy having a long delivery, Troy, as long as he's reading and anticipating he can make up the difference. That's why I don't have a problem with T-Bill. I don't care how Joe Cap won in this football league, and he didn't have a great release. Johnny Unitas didn't have a great release. Bart Starr. I can go on and on and on the guys that didn't have great releases.
With that big windup, then you've got to have a big arm in order to make up the time lost by not getting the ball out quickly, which is what he's able to do.
And that was another 3rd down conversion, and now Mewelde Moore loses 2.
But I bet Leftwich had a heck of a fastball in baseball, don't you?
Pulling it.
He had to have.
He had to. Coming from what? Right fit? What do you call that? What is that? From the four hole? What is that? Out right? You got a number for
I have
baseball?
no idea what you're
what
talking
is it called? 3, 5, 9.
I don't know. He's the baseball guy.
I have no idea. I need McCarver here.
Pulling it from right here.
Like down
Because
under here.
there's shoulder throwers who sit it right here on the shoulder, and there's snappers, wrist passers. That's what Michael Vick is. And then there's guys like Byron Leftwich. That's cool. You know, spice of life, baby. I like it. Howie doesn't like it, but I like it.
Here is Tyler Gresham, who's in that mold of those smaller wide receivers. You got to go down for halftime.
I got to go save Kurt.
Yeah.
Then I'll be back.
Hurry back.
All right.
Hurry back.
Tweet the fans out there and tell hurry back. You don't mean that, do you?
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
I promise you he will not lock the booth.
Things get slow in the second half of these preseason games. I need you.
Okay.
It's 3rd down and 8, and this Eagles defense needs a stop. And a timeout is taken by Pittsburgh. But for a 3rd and 8, Terry is gone. Troy is smiling, and will continue after the break. And there's our score with 2:28 left in the half, and coming up at halftime, Kurt and Terry from down on the field. Highlights from the Patriots and the Bucks, and a look at the quarterback movement around the league. Plenty to talk about, and the Eagles will have plenty to talk about in their locker room at the half. It's 3rd down and 8. And this time, the Eagles get a stop. That is Anthony Hargrove in his first year in an Eagles uniform, the former Ram, Buffalo Bill, and he won it all with the Saints. And it's a 3rd Philadelphia sack.
And it was a sack, one because Hargrove kept playing, but also because there was great coverage on the back end. There was just nowhere then for Byron Leftwich to throw the football.
And now Kapanos will punt it with Johnny Lee Higgins waiting deep, former Raider.
Timeout, Philadelphia.
And with the clock running, Philadelphia will take their first timeout. Tomorrow night, Fox's NFL preseason action continues as the Falcons head to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Coverage begins tomorrow at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific in high def, only on Fox.
As Terry Bradshaw goes down onto the field, he gets quite an ovation here from this crowd. And tomorrow night in that game that we just promoted, Michael Strahan and Jimmy Johnson will be in that booth. They've got a lot to live up to after Bradshaw here in this first half.
It's been fun having him, and he'll be back. Kapanos hits it end over end, and it ends up in the end zone.
You know, you look at this first half here, Joe, and, you know, a good performance by Pittsburgh. You know, as I said, Tomlin challenged them. They came out offensively. Ben Roethlisberger, 8 for 12, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's the kind of night you want as a quarterback. On the other hand, for the Eagles, you know, you come out of this, I don't think they're going to play in the third quarter unless Andy Reid changes something from what he was going to do. But now you go into that 3rd preseason game next week. There's a little bit of pressure on you to pull it together so that you can then go into the opener feeling a little better about your play.
Vick with a hand on him drops it off to McCoy. who gets 11. The Eagles are home next Thursday against Cleveland. We are at 1:59 left in the half. Eagles have it down 14. Mike Tomlin is now in his 5th season here with the Steelers. He's won the AFC North in 3 of his first 4 years, and since 1969, you talk about stability. Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and now Mike Tomlin, who was hired at the age of 34.
You know, they've got a blueprint as to what they want. I mean, when you think about Chuck Noll and Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin, they were all young guys. They were all defensive guys. They know what they're looking for, and they know what they want this Steeler team year in and year out to look like.
This one is high but catchable for Riley Cooper.
You know, Mike Tomlin, when he got the job here, Joe, he had just been defensive coordinator there in Minnesota for 1 year with the Vikings, and no one had really heard much about him. They had a pretty good year there defensively with Minnesota, but I don't know that he was really one of the favorites when he was being interviewed, but he interviewed so well and was so impressive that next thing we know, he's being named the head coach of the Steelers.
And it's been a great start. 2nd and 10. Wide open is Chad Hall. And Hall has 11. And an Eagles first down.
You know, they've got a few weapons on this offensive side of the ball. You think about Chad Hall, who's 4th, 5th receiver, getting a little more playing time here tonight. But boy, he came on at the end of last season, a real versatile guy. But Michael Vick, he's got, especially now with Jeremy Maclin coming back into the fold, pretty good group.
Vick makes the pass and gets knocked out of bounds by Timmons. And if you were not with us at the start, Jake Glazer had a one-on-one with Jeremy Maclin, who had 10 touchdowns last year, 70 catches, lost 15 pounds in April with mono-like symptoms. They tested him top to bottom. He went back home to St. Louis. They were looking for lymphoma, whatever it was, and all tests came back negative. So that is great news for a great guy and a tremendous talent that the Eagles will need. He is on his way back, and Vick is on his way to the ground. Harrison was in there along with Donovan Warren.
Well, that's the thing that we talked about that Michael Vick's been working on. Donovan Warren, number 30 here, he comes in on the blitz. Now, it was a short drop. Ball should have come out. And that's where Michael Vick has to recognize that, okay, short drop, I don't have a lot of time and need to get the ball out of his hands. And that's an area that he has spent a great deal of time trying to be able to pick up and recognize a little bit sooner. Last year, you go back to some of those games, particularly late, Minnesota Vikings among others, and he took a lot of hits and some plays that he probably could have made had he have seen it coming a little earlier.
The Eagles use their 2nd timeout. Who's going to end up at right tackle for the Eagles when they open on the 11th in St. Louis?
Well, I think that, you know, you talk about all these great players that they've been able to bring in, Asamoah, Cullen Jenkins. I think that right tackle position, hopefully for them, Ryan Harris, that could be the biggest signing of all, but the key for him is just trying to stay healthy.
He's had 2 back surgeries. Vick, penalty flag is down, and Vick, his 3rd interception, tipped into the arms of Polamalu. And the Steelers would, I'm sure, like to see him just get down. But there is a flag on the play.
Holding. Number 67. Offense. Penalties decline. Results of the play. 1st and 10. Pittsburgh.
Where this jailbreak started was LaShawn McCoy failing to make a good block on Ryan Clark. He should have been picked up. Michael Vick didn't need to worry about him, but yet he had to avoid the sack. And then after that, you start getting the pressure. And Michael Vick just tried to make a play and threw it into coverage again. And how about Troy Polamalu? I mean, the guy just has a knack for being where the ball is. It's really remarkable.
36 yards on his interception return, and then for a guy who missed 2 games late last year with a slight tear in his Achilles, I'm sure the Steelers were happy about the pick, but just wanting him to get on the ground. 12-yard run here by Moore.
Now here's the end of that play, and you said, hey, the Steeler coaches, you sure just saying get down on the ground for Troy Polamalu.
Wow.
I don't know that the Eagle coaches are real fired up about Michael Vick jumping in there with his head to make a tackle.
And that is the 3rd straight Eagles drive that has ended in a pick. Well, this is your football season as well. You can create your fantasy football team today. FoxSports.com. Fox Fantasy Football is brand new and better than ever. You can get involved and get on today at FoxSports.com/fantasy. First down for Leftwich. And Byron will slide as he's tapped by Matthews in a gain of 9. And Leftwich showing that he can run the 2-minute offense.
Well, what a luxury the Steelers have when, you know, Ben Roethlisberger and all that he's been able to do. But, you know, in the event that you lose your starter, which they did last year, you know, of course, for those that don't remember, Roethlisberger being suspended there through the first 4 games of the season, and then to have a Byron Leftwich and some of the others that stepped in and helped, that's a great luxury to have a veteran quarterback who's won a lot of games in this league.
Dixon went 1-1. Batch went 1-1. Handoff is good for a first down as Mewelde Moore picks it up, and now the Steelers call a timeout. I said 1-1 for each. Actually, Dixon was 2-0. Batch went 1-1, and these Steelers went 3-1 in the absence of Roethlisberger to start the year. Again, that's what's on tap coming up at halftime. 18 seconds remain, and the Steelers are out of timeouts. Touchdown. Cotchery.
You're going to see Kurt Coleman right here. He's going to work to the middle, and when he does, then you've got Leftwich, who knows he's going to have single coverage. You know, right there on the outside, working away from the safety. Really a nice job. Something you would expect, as I talked about a little bit earlier, from a veteran quarterback. He sees the rotation by the safeties. He works opposite of that, and he gets the matchup he wants.
And the matchup was Jericho Cotchery against Ozelio Hansen. No Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, no Samuel, no Asamoah on the field on that last touchdown throw. This one to Cotchery. And as we welcome you inside our broadcast booth, I'll ask you quite simply, what have we seen here so far in Pittsburgh?
Well, we've seen a great performance here by Pittsburgh and the things that they've been able to do. And like I said, for the Eagles, it's a bit of a concern. Not completely. I mean, the only thing is I think that you start putting pressure on yourself now going into that 3rd preseason game as starters wanting to perform better. But it's going to take a little bit of time. And plus, if you think about the years that Andy Reid has had, historically, this has been a team that has always started the season off relatively slow.
But to further your point, I mean, typically that 3rd preseason game is when you play the starters and then you don't see them again.
Yeah, the 4th, you know, Like I said, I thought this year would probably be a little bit different as to how the coaches went about playing these starters, but they've stuck to the way that they've done it in the past, and in the past the starters have not played in the 4th preseason game.
And if that's the case, then there'll be a lot of ironing out of things to do during the week, getting ready for that game coming up next Thursday against the Browns. And now this young man, Swayze Waters, who has a big leg, and a field goal block, knocks it out of the back of the end zone.
You know, they're talking. You guys have been talking about these kickoffs and stuff, and interestingly, the special teams coaches have been saying they really believe that about 60% of these kickoffs will be returned when it's all said and done. Once we get into the regular season, they think that will trend downwards as we move through in future years. But really, the whole objective is the kickoffs have become so dangerous with these running starts and the collisions that occur, that when they went back and looked at it, a number of injuries that happen on that play.
But there are certain players and there are big weapons on teams that will be really neutralized by that rule change.
Chicago.
A guy like Josh Cribbs, they can't like it. Steelers like this first half. Halftime coming up. Well, it has been an interesting night so far. Interesting either way you look at it. It's been a big night for the Steelers offensively. Michael Vick has thrown 3 interceptions, and it's a 21-0 game. And we get ready to start the second half with Sonoris Moss, former 2nd-round pick of the Giants, who never figured it out in New York trying to do it with the Eagles. And you can see Vince Young getting ready to hop into this game. And we finally have a kick return. And Moss is out near the 24. Morty Ivy on the stop, and it's going to be interesting, Troy, to see what Vince Young can do as he tries to take on a new offense. They're working with his mechanics. He's got a lot flying around in that head of his.
Yeah. Yes, he does. And you know, trying to learn a new offense, and you know, when you're trying to do that and then you're not quite sure about what the calls are, how to call it, sometimes that's the hardest part, is just getting the play called in the huddle. It sure takes away then from your ability to go out and play, especially for a physical player and an athletic guy like Vince Young.
2-time Pro Bowler, 30 and 17 in his NFL career during the regular season. And he completes to Johnny Lee Higgins, who spins for 10 and a first down.
Now, this offense is so different from anything that Vince Young has really ever played in. And he's going through, I guess, some of the steps that Michael Vick had to go through a couple of years ago, as far as really diving into this playbook and learning it, because there's a lot of verbiage in this West Coast offense. And you really can't translate it onto the field and play at the level that you want to until you can at least absorb it all mentally.
Here is a completion to Chad Hall and a gain of 7. So I guess if you're Vince Young, as it was with Michael Vick, if you want to rehabilitate your career, you go to Philadelphia, you work with Andy Reid, you work with Marty Mornhinweg, and you have weapons around you to try and show that you can still do it.
Well, it's a pretty good situation, and he himself has said that the reason he came to Philadelphia was because of Andy Reid. You know, the respect that he has for him and the opportunity that he may be given, but he really just wants a chance to prove to the rest of the league that he can be a starter again in this league.
And he gets out of the pocket and throws it out of bounds. He was chased by Worlds. It will be third down.
And my comments aren't intended to imply that Vince Young's not capable of learning this offense. It's just, it is a tough offense for anyone to learn that hasn't been exposed to it. That's why a lot of these West Coast guys, you know, you see them, Brett Favre, for instance, everywhere he wanted to go play when he left Green Bay were places to where they had the West Coast offense, because it's something that he already knew. And for a quarterback, that's a challenge.
It's 3rd down and 3. Young throws behind the receiver. It's caught by Hall. And it depends on the spot. Looks to be just short, and he is.
Well, and Andy Reid's not hesitating. They're going to go for it here on 4th down, and rightfully so. Try to get some more snaps for this offensive group in light of how poor they were there in that first half.
Maybe Young keeps it, and he does. And he just drove the pile with his legs forward for a 1st down.
Well, this is a big guy, 6'5", 230 pounds, and we saw they stopped him. The Steelers did a good job up front, and Vince Young just kept his legs going, was able to move the pile and pick up the 1st down. But boy, what a gifted player he is. Things didn't work out for him there in Tennessee, but a 2-time Pro Bowl player. As you said, Joe, just trying to pull it back together.
Part of a team that went 6-10 last year in Tennessee. Now they have Matt Hasselbeck, Jake Locker behind him with the Titans.
Welcome back, Pick TV.
Hey, Pick TV.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
And here is
you guys
Ronnie
miss
Brown.
me?
We somehow muddled our way through.
Kickoff return specialist, how you doing?
It happened while you were in transit. We had a kick return.
Get out of here.
Now it happened.
Out of boredom? He took it out because of boredom?
It was a 24-yard return
There
by
you go.
Sonoris Moss.
That was a nice ovation you got down there.
Oh, they're still clapping, can't you?
They love you.
Don't get up here
As
that
they
often.
should.
It's nice.
As they should.
4-time Super Bowl champ next to a 3-time Super Bowl champ. I've actually attended 4 Super Bowls, which I think is pretty impressive.
It is very.
It'll be 2nd down and 8 when we come back. As we get our look at Vince Young here tonight in Pittsburgh. Eagles down by 21.
Tonight's game on Fox is sponsored by the 2011 Ford F-150, built Ford tough.
There is the score with 11:52 left in quarter number 3. It's 2nd down and 8. Vince Young. And he hits Sonoris Moss. He's trying to prove himself, and a guy who has proven himself ever since he got to Pittsburgh is with Pam Oliver. She's standing by with Big Ben.
Well, Ben, I was talking to your offensive coordinator, and he was mentioning that he's never seen you throw the ball better. Do you agree with that, and what do you attribute it to?
Well, that's quite a compliment. Just really trying to work my technique. Focusing on a couple little things that I've really tried to work hard on in the offseason, and making sure I throw to the right guy.
It's got to be awful losing the Super Bowl and going through that. Just tell me about the determination that this team felt when you got back to work.
Well, it's kind of one of those things that you want to get back there so bad because you want to make up for it. But we're a veteran team that kind of knows how to put things behind us but use it as motivation. So we're ready to get back to work and get to training camp and try and get back.
You've dealt with that foot injury for a while now. How is it? And is there certain things you're just going to have to live with where that foot is concerned?
Well, it feels great right now, knock on wood. It's as long as I don't aggravate it, and it's not, hope it doesn't get as painful as it did at the end of last year. But you know what? It's one of those things that we don't have to do anything right now, but let's just hope it doesn't get bad.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Anytime.
All right, back to you.
All right, thank you, Pam. Ben Roethlisberger was just recently married here in the Pittsburgh area, and on 4th down, Havili, the fullback, trying to leap, and Ryan Mundy made the play as the Steelers defense holds. Pittsburgh takes over, up 21. There is the score. There's the time left, 3rd quarter, and we welcome you inside our booth. I'm Joe, and that's not Terry or Troy.
There's
Mike
another
Barrera.
one up here?
There's another one up here. And it's you, and he is our rules expert. And, we're always talking about rules. Terry and I have been laughing about the no returns so far. But what jumps out at you is something that fans will notice rule change-wise this year?
Well, I would have talked about it first about the replaying of the reviewing of every touchdown. But I think the real focus is going to be on the kickoff rule. This is the ramifications of this rule, to me, probably are what beyond the competition committee expected. You know, not only we got to quit talking about just touchbacks, because they're going to be touchbacks, but now what's the result of this? And if you look at start drives being the 20-yard line, it's going to put, you know, a complete different emphasis on teams, defenses. Defenses, I think, win here because they have the team backed up to the 20. I think coaches will start deferring the coin toss, especially those that can kick it deep in the end zone, because they can back up the team to the 20 on the opening drive. There's a lot into this rule that's going to change the game more than just that little 5 yards that they made that adjustment.
It is 1st and 15 with Dixon in the game. And he hits the big tight end, John Gilmore. And he's back to the line of scrimmage. So, all right, there's that. There's the kickoff there, at least in this game and in 12 preseason games. Now we've got a deep judge, so an 8th official.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of momentum to go to 8 guys. They experimented with it 4 times last year and now 12 times this year. To me, the jury's still out. I mean, I've watched it closely in Kansas City last week and here tonight. You know, I liked it where it was, quite frankly, with 7 officials, because you have 5 officials around the perimeter that cover the 5 eligible receivers. I think the 8th guy is going to provide duplication. It won't help on pass interference. Watching it tonight, though,
number 66.
It's interesting because it may help on 4 receiver sets and 5 receiver sets, because he's going to pick up a receiver that either the head linesman or line judge would have had to get before. So I think they'll look at it. They'll look at it after this 12 games this season and the preseason, and then make a decision for the 2012 season. But I'll tell you the other thing, Joe, which is a concern to me, is you're talking about 17 new officials in a year when their CBA expires. And anytime you get a new CBA, you'll get a lot of retirements. You could be looking at 25 to 30 new officials. I don't think they're out there at this point.
Here is a delayed handoff to Dwyer. And David Hill, who runs this division at Fox, said it at our seminar, but I'll reiterate it for those watching tonight. You are as big an addition as we've had at Fox in a long time, and thanks to your expertise and thanks for bailing us out on the road seemingly each and every week with your knowledge of the rules.
Well, I mean, I have a tremendous admiration for what you guys do. You know, it's taken me really 30 years to really memorize the rule book, and you're expected to know all the rules. It's impossible. And to me, to be able to maybe teach a little bit, maybe teach our fans a little bit, they want rules knowledge, and it's been a pure joy for me to do this.
And here is a flag for interference, it looks like, as Trevard Lindley went up the back of the receiver. And before we let you go, you're also going to be part of our college football coverage at Fox as well.
Yeah, I mean, I did I actually officiated Division I college football for 14 years, and I was also the supervisor officials in the WAC. So, you know, so I'm really looking forward to doing that and doing the same thing on Saturdays that I do on Sundays.
There were 3 penalties during your stay with us, and you talked over every one of John Perry's announcements down on the field.
Listen, I've gotten to the point now where airtime is very important to me, so I'll talk over any penalty.
That must be contagious back in the studio. You've learned well. Thanks, Mike. Here is a pass complete to Tyler Gresham, and with flags flying, a gain of 3. So this is getting sloppy.
Defense, number 72, 5-yard penalty. Will replay. 1st down.
That is Cedric Thornton, who was guilty of an offside. So they'll replay the down and make it 2nd down and 5.
You know, they say a good analyst knows all the rules in the NFL. I think there's nothing harder. I think the bar exam is harder than passing that rule thing.
It's tough to get through that book. I said 2nd and 5.
Impresses me.
1st and 5, and Dwyer gets it again.
What are you laughing at? You know all the rules? I know you do.
No. And that's, you know, like Joe said, it's great when you've got Mike Pereira in your back pocket to bail you out.
He was there during the Super Bowl.
You've never taken the bar exam, have you?
Now, you know, what
it's
makes you say that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you said it like maybe you said it like maybe you had. I mean, I was just wondering.
Oh, did I really? I wish I.
I mean, you got the suspenders going. I mean, you look like an attorney.
I wish I could look you straight in the face and go, yeah, I did take it. I took the bar.
Your bar exam was how much is a 20% tip on a $19 bar tab? On second down, Dwyer again back to the line of scrimmage.
I'm glad they moved that old umpire back around where he should be now, though. Getting him back. Hadn't he been deep last year, he would take and move back. You couldn't see the holding calls.
Yeah, they were working him on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
you know, back where the referee is, and
crazy.
Yeah, they're missing a lot of stuff. I don't know that he's excited about being back where he is. I mean, it's dangerous. They ought to put a helmet on him because those umpires get hit a lot.
I love Mike Pereira's face because he's looking, going, "Hey, he's not where he was. He's back where the referee is." They only do that inside.
Okay, see
2 minutes.
See how I set him up to look good? Huh?
Yeah.
Mike's sitting over here going, all right, that's good. That was part of the
good job. Good catch, Mike. Way to go.
Yeah. And look, I'm in a studio. I miss a lot of stuff, believe it or not. Seriously, looking at all these games, as you know.
It's now 4th down, and the Steelers will go for it.
Well, he looks like he wants to be in the middle of the action.
You think?
I do.
It's Dan Farrell, today's umpire. This one's batted down out of the hand of Dixon, and the Eagles will take over. That was Marlon Favorite just added to this roster. Eagles will have it down by 21. Day it will be on September 11th, the opening weekend across the NFL, and there are the games to be found here on Fox. And with the celebration that the league has planned for that day, it's something that you don't want to miss. It all begins with the Built Ford Tough Fox NFL pregame show at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Handoff is to Ronnie Brown. And one of the new Eagles picks up 7.
A nice block out there on the outside at the tight end position by Donald Lee. Well, this is the second half now, and this is where a lot of these young guys get their opportunity to show what they can do. I'm still convinced, even with not much of an off season, really none, that these coaches come into this training camp pretty much knowing who their roster is.
Nice cutback by Brown. And on second down, he picks up 14. Ronnie Brown, who is former 2nd overall pick by the Dolphins in 05 and is number 3 on the all-time list of rushers for the Dolphin franchise, is running behind an offensive line put together by Howard Mudd.
Yeah, how about Howard Mudd? He was retired for a year, and Andy Reid then needed to find an offensive line coach if Castillo was going to then be the defensive coordinator, and called him. He literally was living at Leisure World in Mesa, Arizona, retirement community, and he said, why not? And here he is.
Mudd and Tom Moore of the Colts.
Yeah.
You know, they were kind of like one of those retirement deals where you can't really coach, so we move you out and you can be an assistant or associate, an advisor, if you will. Mudd's back, and Tom Moore is up in New York with the Jets, helping them out. 2 great coaches.
I think the conversation from Andy Reid went, okay, enough with the shuffleboard. Let's get back and do what you do best.
Lawn bowling.
3-time Pro Bowl guard with the 49ers back in the 60s. He's got bad back, bad knees. Second down and 4. And overthrown is Chad Hall. Nnamdi Asomugha is standing by with Pam Oliver.
Joe, we are playing with here, and we're trying to figure out what's up with the bug. Are you satisfied now? Just so much hype about your free agency signing. What's your mentality coming into this, situation in Philadelphia?
Work. Just work. We've got to work hard. The hype around everything that's going on with the team, it's fine on the outside, but we have to work. Obviously, you saw in the first half, we've got a long way to go. So, there's a lot of new faces here and, new coaches as well in different positions. So we've got to work hard.
Is football just football? Tell me about going from the AFC to the NFC.
Yes, I mean, it's the same game. You're just going to be facing different guys. But, for the most part, you've seen every team. I've been in 8 years, so I've seen every team in the league. But, yeah, obviously it's going to be different because you're facing different faces every week.
What are you going maybe you have not done before?
Well, I'm moving around a little bit. I'm moving around, playing on the inside in the slot a lot more than I've done in the past. Obviously, we've got 3 corners that can play, so we're trying to figure out where each person fits. So, that's going to be new to me. I've played some slot before, but I've never played it as much as I'd probably play it here, so that's new.
You better look out for those Eagles fans. They're notorious.
Yeah, I know, but they've been great. They've been supporting and everything, and they know we're after the same thing that they're after, and that's that championship.
Thanks a lot. Go play with some more bugs.
I appreciate it.
Joe, back to you.
All right, Pam, thank you. Those are fighting words for Ed Sfida, our statistician here in the booth, about the Philly fans. They care. They want a winner, and won a championship in 1960. Lost a couple of Super Bowls, and now Young throws a pick. And waiting on the other end is Larry Foote. What a day this has been. Which way do you want to call it? For the Steelers defense or for this Eagles offense? Another pick, 4th of the day.
Tonight's game on Fox is sponsored by Verizon, the official wireless service provider of the NFL.
As we welcome you back to Pittsburgh, the Steelers and Eagles join the entire NFL in celebrating USA Football Month throughout August. The official youth football development partner of the NFL, the NFL Players Association in each of the leagues, 32 teams. Part of USA Football Month, young players from throughout the Pittsburgh area are enjoying tonight's game courtesy of the Steelers. And be a better player, coach, and football parent by logging on to usafootball.com all season long. Dixon airs it out and completes to Arnaz Battle. 15 yards and a Steeler first down.
And Dixon is one of those quarterbacks that's, really auditioning if it doesn't work out for him here in Pittsburgh, that, he can go somewhere else. I mean, a guy who has really got a lot of ability, and as you talked about a little bit earlier, Joe, I mean, he's done a nice job, really, when he's been given his opportunities.
His agent actually earlier in the offseason, which was, as we all know, very short, talked to the Steelers about trying to trade Dixon as he completes it for another first down. This time it's Saunders.
A little piece of trivia for you, Troy. Arnaz Battle was the AAA state football player, offensive player of the year in the state of Louisiana at Byrd High School. Byrd High School was my arch rival, Woodlawn. We were the first senior class to beat Byrd High School. Byrd, B-Y.
What was your mascot?
Our Fighting Knights, Woodlawn Knights.
What were the birds?
Hornets or Yellow Jackets. Something that stinks.
Who was?
Bird.
Oh.
Does he not listen?
I can't follow you.
No.
That's good stuff.
Here's Dwyer.
Just trivia, that's all.
The Bird Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, Yellow Jackets. Yeah. Arnaz, what? Kick return specialist?
I don't think I've ever been that excited about the end of a story when you started it with I have a little bit of trivia for you.
Yeah, but when you have a bad game, I was taught earlier in my broadcasting career, you start dumping stuff like that.
I know.
So there's some people out there writing that down.
Somewhere Vern Lundquist is laughing right now.
I hope so.
2nd and 4. I think we all need to laugh a little more, don't don't you, Terry?
Absolutely.
Dwyer carries for a first down. Hakeem Jordan on the stop.
You know, we talked about these linebackers for the Philadelphia Eagles, and obviously a different set of linebackers playing right now. But this series has not been real good for them. A lot of play action stuff that has gotten the linebackers up. There's been a lot of people, even though Dixon has chose to work the ball on the outside, there's been people running through the middle of the field just wide open. And even on some of these running plays, a linebacker's not there filling the gaps to make the plays.
On first down, Gresham is overthrown. He is a little guy like Chad Hall on the other side, or like a Wes Welker, and he just couldn't get there as Dixon led him too much.
Yeah, it was a good release, too. He's working against Curtis Marsh. He's a young rookie that actually is a pretty raw guy. He was drafted in the 3rd round, but they feel like there's a lot of upside with him. They don't have to rely on him because of obviously the corners they already have on their roster, but he's going to be a bit of a project. But you know, it kind of reminds me of Sam Shields in the year that he ended up having last year for the Packers.
Here is a blitz, and Dwyer is brought down in the backfield. A loss of 2. And we are through 3 quarters here in Pittsburgh. 1 to go. There was a kickoff. I bet it was a touchback on the other end of it. Steelers leading at 21-0 as they're moving in again. We begin the final quarter of play here in Pittsburgh, and it has been all Steelers, and they're moving in again. They have a 3rd and long coming up, and we've talked about it before that maybe the biggest addition, as you look at the quarterbacks tonight, that Andy Reid made when he came to the Eagles in '99 was bringing Jim Johnson, a guy who he didn't really know all that well, to be his defensive coordinator, and passed away a couple of years ago, and now they're trying their 2nd defensive coordinator to fill those very big and so far unfillable shoes. Gresham is a yard shy of a first down.
Nothing is more unsettling to a quarterback, in my estimation, than a team that has multiple blitzes from multiple sets and everything, where you have to spend countless hours trying to pick out little keys, set your formations, trying to get them to come to one side. Teams that come at you aggressively like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, the quarterbacks have to really put in the hours and to be able to perform on Sunday.
Well, and think about the offensive line as well. You know, you see Baltimore and Pittsburgh, as you said, and the Eagles, and all the different looks that they give a quarterback, and then the linemen have to be on the same page to pick it up too.
Waters has had one blocked, and this one is just good. 30-yarder good from Waters, first-year player out of UAB. 24-0. Steelers on top. And as we welcome you back, it's now 24-0 Steelers after a 30-yard field goal by Waters, who will kick it away. Said he's got a big leg. We'll see it here. Will there be a return? Another one into the end zone, and it will be returned by Sonoris Moss. And Waters, the kicker, made the stop. Standing by with Lamar Woodley is Pam Oliver.
Yeah, he of the nice fat contract. I know you don't hear enough about that from your teammates, huh?
Not at all. You know, everybody think I'm buying everything, but I'm real cheap. So if I can't get a discount on it, I ain't spending it.
But it says about the organization that they want you, they're going to pay you accordingly. And what does that mean to you when the organization says we need to lock that guy up?
I mean, it's definitely a commitment to me and to this team about keeping this team together, being that we just came off a Super Bowl run and trying to keep everybody in here together so we can go back there. So I'm going to be around here for a long time, and I'm just happy I can be a part of this great tradition and history around here.
How do you get back to the Super Bowl, which seems like one of the hardest things in the world?
We just need to learn how to finish. I think we need to go out here and as a defense shut offenses down. And I think we've been doing a pretty good job of that each and every year. You know, you hear everybody say usually when teams go to the Super Bowl and they usually don't make the playoffs, so we don't want to be one of those teams. So we just have to go out here and do what we did tonight, get turnovers on defense and get the ball back to the offense.
Yeah, you liked that, didn't you?
Oh, I love that because last week they pounded on us a little bit. Everybody was talking how the Redskins came out and they played, and the Steelers looked bad. So we came out here and we had to show people that you know, the Steelers ain't lost anything.
Got it. I appreciate your time.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Back to you, Joe.
All right, there is Dion Lewis, who starred at Pitt. And he shows his burst of speed for 14 yards. And guys, Woodley, a lot of the attention goes to Harrison. Woodley is a guy who, since 08, is number 4 on the sack list across the NFL. His teammate Harrison is right in front of him at number 3.
Well, that's an amazing group on that side of the ball. And yeah, last week wasn't all that good. You know, you can look around the league at a lot of teams, a lot of different units, and maybe have some concern. I don't think this Steelers defense is one of them.
Mike Kafka has taken over at quarterback, and here's another one from Lewis. And he loses it. A turnover, and it is recovered by Pitt. Baraka Atkins comes away with it. And it's a fumble from the rookie from Pitt, Dion Lewis. Steelers have it again.
Tonight's game on Fox is sponsored by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
Beautiful night in Pittsburgh, and it's a 24-0 Steeler lead, and we welcome you back inside.
It's hard.
Our broadcast
the worst part of this is what you
get a desk. You get a desk. I mean, I don't know what to do.
Tell us another one of those stories.
I'm going to tell you a good one when y'all get me off this TV here. This ain't good enough.
He's been doing Sling Blade during every break. Oh, wait, we're going to continue on.
Dixon, break it down for you.
Yeah, would you? Is there any team, Terry Bradshaw, that jumps out at you as a team you like going into this season?
Pretty much like you saw last year, there'll always be a team pop up, which I think is Detroit. I love Detroit. Green Bay is going to be incredible. And then that NFC South, you know, those 3 guys, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, New Orleans. I don't see a surprise yet. Maybe a giant team that really gets strong and gets going. But right now, my team is Detroit Lions. That's the team I got my eyes on.
Yeah, no, I do too. I like Detroit. I like the Rams.
Really?
You know,
I like that quarterback.
Here's Dwyer.
I think if you look at the league here, Terry, over the last 10, 12 years, and 5 or 6 teams each year make the playoffs that didn't make the playoffs the year before, I agree. I think Detroit, especially, I mean, Matthew Stafford has to stay healthy, and I hope that he does. But they seem to be really poised to have a great year. I agree with that. I think the Rams are going to be one of those teams. And then, of course, Tampa Bay. I mean, the fact that they didn't get in last year, 10 wins, they really came on strong.
I would think Tampa Bay is closer than the Rams, because I'm not quite sure that the Rams believe that they can win those games yet. And Detroit might be in the same situation. Tampa Bay could be the other team, but Lions certainly are a team that should get your attention.
Well, heck, Tampa Bay was, you know, what, 1 win away last year. They were a 10-win team.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the year that Jason Campbell had last year. I mean, it was awfully impressive. And then the comebacks, or Josh Freeman, excuse me. And then in the fourth quarter, the job that he was able to do. And you know, I liked him from day one. We had a preseason game of theirs, his rookie season, and he didn't play much, but it was just something about him. He had a real presence, you know, big guy, and threw the ball well. And you say, wow, if this guy can be the quarterback they think he can be, they're really going places, and it sure looks like he is.
And one of the things that I think our viewers say, why Detroit? Well, you said it. Troy said it best. Stafford out of Georgia, the kid that keeps getting his shoulders hurt, he'll be stronger than ever now, because I guarantee he's been on the weights. Kind of like Sam Bradford. You know, he got beat up and he just wasn't a strong kid. He built himself up in the Rams and played all year. But the key, I think, is it's just the fact that of the last 4 games the Lions won, they beat the Green Bay Packers, and to me, that tells me a lot about that football team.
Well, that's an interesting matchup. Week 1, Lions at the Bucks, right out of the gate. Dixon completes. And it's another first down. West Lions made the catch.
You know, Terry, when I went to Dallas in '89, worst team in football, but yet, you know, obviously had a lot of history. You don't really understand that until you start to win. Can you imagine what it would be like to play for the Detroit Lions when they finally get it going? Because that organization has some amazing fans all around the country.
Not to mention they forged one of the greatest success stories in the history of this great country.
Sure.
And wonderful people. Yeah, and a great city. I got an uncle that lives up there, so I got a lot of friends in the Detroit area.
Here's another carry for John Clay. And he won't go down easily.
But they lost their rookie. They lost that rookie running back, their defensive tackle out of Auburn, Fairley. He injured. He just got out of the, well, I guess he's in a walking boot now.
Right.
So.
Penalty flag is
I've been
thrown.
in Hawaii. What do I'm just throwing it out there. Y'all correct me.
You're
all
right. No, you're right. He's in a walking boot.
Okay, good.
Nick Fairley.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thanks.
And they ought to be tough with Sue. I mean,
he got fined.
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness. Number 69. Offense. 15-yard penalty. Replay. First down.
Dominic Sue just saying he got fined $20,000 when we were driving into Detroit. I told John Zornecki, I said, if he played back in the early 70s or like Joe Green, the money that they were making then and the fines they're having now, he'd be broke. He'd have to borrow money just to live throughout the season. But he's the kind of player. What made this league great?
That's the key,
was
though.
Him.
They weren't finding that much back when Joe Green was playing.
I'll never forget Joe Green stole the ball from Cleveland center Bab and ran all over the end.
How much did that cost him?
I think $50.
And then you're supposed to follow that up. Well, that was a lot of money back then.
I know, but that's so cool, man. That playing that in that era when rules were just nasty, these guys couldn't do that nowadays. You hit a quarterback today, and Lord help us, we're going to pass a rule. We don't want to touch them.
You against player safety, you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What made this game great was all of that. Now, because of the money and ratings and everything that stimulate the income, the dollars for this, we're trying to get away and protect our stars. But what made this game great was what happened in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, in my opinion.
Second down and 16. Play action from Dixon.
Nice throw.
And he completes to Armand Robinson.
You know, if the Steelers need to pick up an offensive lineman because of injuries at all, that Dixon kid's putting on a show tonight, and they might be able to get some interest if they would want to part ways with him.
Boy, that was a great throw right there, just outside the pocket and laying it out on the sideline. Perfect throw.
Armand Robinson, who's a rookie out of Miami of Ohio, which produced Ben Roethlisberger.
Hey, we can throw the 90s into that conversation, too, about how, can't we?
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
just 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Wait, leaving the 80s out of it.
Oh, I think I touched a nerve over here.
Paging Joe Montana.
I remember, Joe, seriously, if you threw for 150 yards, you didn't sleep all night because you couldn't wait to read your name in the paper the next day. The rules and the bump and the run and the slam and the bam, and it was tough stuff.
You're turning into Madden over here, slamming and bamming. And
John is John.
Second down and goal. And there's a night for Dixon, 7 of 9, 80 yards.
I'm curious to find out. You agree with me on that, or I know you probably got a different.
No, I can tell you, he agrees with you.
Yeah, I think they've gone too far.
Dixon's in trouble, drops it off to Dwyer. And Dwyer loses yardage. And a penalty flag comes down again.
Boy, Dixon gets pounded at the end of this play. You're going to see he comes around. Yeah.
That just kind of goes with what we've been talking about.
Ineligible downfield. Number 77. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
That's John Malecki, an offensive lineman that was downfield.
No, I think to go back to your point, Terry, you know, it is a different game. Shoot, it's a different game from when I played, which was just 10 years ago. But you kind of understand it. You know, I mean, you can't have the things that have been happening to these players, the concussions and and then losing the stars, and the fans want to see those stars on the field, but there's no question that it's different, and the game has changed as a result. We're seeing a lot of scoring, a lot of yardage thrown by these quarterbacks, all for that reason.
Well, what happened?
Penalty flag as Lyons takes it in. But we'll check the call. May have been a pick out there on the edge. Let's see.
Prior to the merger in 19, I believe it was 70 of the NFL.
Illegal formation on the offense. Number 18 covered up the tight end. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
That was Kenneth Moore.
Anyway, prior to that merger of the AFL and the NFL, the thing that made the AFL so popular was what? They threw the football all over the football field. They threw it 40, 50 times, and NBC had covered that. They were going, man, this is great stuff. And to compete with that, it was ground and pounded out Lombardi style. That caught their attraction. Now we're seeing ratings are being held by offenses now.
Second and goal and a handoff to Dwyer. We lost 20 pounds in camp coming in. He's going to lose another 5 here tonight. A gain of 5. We done with that, or?
I don't know. I'm just mumbling.
Now you're making good points.
I'm jet lagged.
You are.
I'm jet lagged.
No, have some confidence in yourself, Terry. I think you're doing a nice job.
I'm sensitive tonight. I know that. No, I'm serious. I really
Are you?
Are you?
Yeah.
You're not going to cry, are you?
Well, I got to leave you guys and go back to a studio. And this is so much fun. And a couple of letters from both of you could really, I think, serious. I'm just, serious. I think I might be able to move up.
Timeout taken by Pittsburgh. Do you
with
email?
The big team. I've never been with the big team.
Do you email?
Who?
Email.
Yes. I don't tweet.
We'll email you.
I will tweet.
Timeout Pittsburgh.
Troy will treat me to a tweeter here.
Up above, aerial coverage is provided by DirecTV. And down below, as the crowd starts to thin out or continues to, it's 3rd down and goal. Dixon back of the end zone, and overthrown is Wesley Saunders. And now it's 4th and goal. So the field goal unit will come on, and Waters, who's 1 for 2, will try one from 27.
It's a movement of a hole. Waters will attempt a 27-yard field goal.
And he misses. So he gets a chance for a chip shot. Sean Sweezum is the kicker for the Steelers, and Waters has now gone 1 for 3 with 1 blocked here tonight. Well, all of us at Fox cannot wait. In 2 weeks, college football comes to FX, and all of us welcome Gus Johnson to the Fox family. He will join Charles Davis, and they'll bring you all the action beginning in Norman, Oklahoma, where the #1 ranked Sooners host the upset-minded Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. And now you look at Charles Davis's power rankings in his top 5 as the pass is out to Higgins. He's ridden out of bounds, a gain of 6, and Charles has Oklahoma 1, then LSU, Alabama, Boise State, and Andrew Luck and the Stanford Cardinal at number 5.
I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of year Stanford has. Of course, losing Jim Harbaugh to the San Francisco 49ers, but then the quarterback Luck, I've been impressed with what little I've gotten to watch from him. Interesting decision on his part not to come out.
Yeah, well, you know what? If this had been prior to the CBA, in other words, when Bradford came out, he would have gone ahead of Bradford, and he would have gotten that $50 million guaranteed money. So I admire, remember when Peyton Manning came out, he stayed that extra year and got out his senior year, which I really applaud any athlete that'll do that. He said, I'll get my money later, and he did. So Luck along the same lines.
His dad, Oliver Luck, was the quarterback in the NFL. And Andrew Luck will have a lot of eyes watching him this year for Stanford as Kafka. Higgins turned around late. Looked to his left after looking to his right, and it's incomplete.
You know, Kafka here is an interesting guy in his second season out of Northwestern, and I know they hit him in a bad spot. You know, what are you going to do, Terry? But talking to Marty Morningwig about Kafka, you know, they really felt that maybe by his third year he'd be prepared to be a backup quarterback, but he's ahead of schedule, and they think that he could be a backup this year. I asked, does that mean he's competing with Vince Young for the backup position? He was quick to say, no, it's Vince Young. Easy to say right now, but it would be interesting if something were to happen to Michael Vick. What exactly do you do, especially early in the season?
Well, the only reason it's Young, Vince's Young, is simply because of experience. That would be the only thing. You know, they gave him what, $3 million to come in and be a backup. That would be the only reason why he is not guaranteed that spot. The first spot belongs to Vic. I've never wanted to be sold on the backup guy, you know, necessarily having to be a proven veteran that you go out and pick up.
Yeah, I think that with Kafka, if it happened early, he knows the offense because he's been in it longer. You know, obviously there's more upside with a guy like Vince Young. You put together a smaller package. As the season goes along, I think if Vic were to miss time, then clearly it's Vince Young then that would be the guy.
Here is one for Dion Lewis, who had a fumble moments ago.
Wow.
How about those moves? And he is knocked out of bounds before getting into the end zone. And you can see why they like him, a 5th-round pick out of Pitt.
Well, they like him a lot too, Joe. And you know, Marty Morningwig again in the conversation with him. You know, we were talking about Ronnie Brown and LaShawn McCoy, and then he was the guy who was quick to throw out Dion Lewis and what they think of him. And he's been impressive. A nice run there.
And that was a 40-yard catch and run for a guy who played on this field for Pitt. Penalty flag flies as Lewis takes it inside the 5.
Holding, number 62. Offense, 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
And that's Jason Kelsey, the guy who has come in, Troy, as a 6th-round pick, but he has the attention of Howard Mudd.
Yeah, he does. In fact, they say he reminds them a lot of Jeff Saturday. That's a pretty good guy to be compared with. And you know, I think the big question is, you know, do you go with more of a proven guy in Jamal Jackson, even though he's coming off of 2 big injuries here in the last couple of years, and how far along is Kelsey? But yeah, they kind of like this guy a lot, and there's a chance he may be the center.
Out of the backfield, the catch is made, and Eldrick Buckley goes forward, not for much, as Donovan Warren made the play. Well, Kelsey, at least physically, Troy, is more in the Howard Mudd style, a little leaner, a little more athletic than Jamal Jackson.
Yeah, and you know, speaking of Howard Mudd, at the time that he was in Indianapolis, of course, Peyton Manning was his quarterback all those years. They only averaged 18 sacks a year. Now, a lot of that had to do with Peyton Manning, but here in Philadelphia, over that same amount of time, averaged over 40 sacks a year.
Yeah, well, you know what? The theory is, give me 6'4", 280, 285, and guys that are real athletic, that can use their hands, that are smart and good footwork, as opposed to a brute that can just blow people off. You can get by those big guys, and you can do a lot more with a small offensive line. If you look at Denver when Shanahan was there, my God, they could run the ball with anyone, and they could protect, and they can do something you don't see that often. Linemen pulling for sweeps. And a lot of screens. You just don't see that much anymore.
And I think the numbers that I put out there are a little bit misleading because of the style of play. I mean, that's not necessarily a reflection on Juan Castillo. You know, Donovan McNabb was a guy who would extend plays, and then, of course, Michael Vick. They're going to absorb more sacks than a Peyton Manning is as well.
Donovan Warren almost came up with an interception. This one is dropped off, and lunging for the touchdown is Gerald Jones. A rookie free agent out of Tennessee, and they say he got in. And he did.
And remember the new rule, this will be reviewed upstairs to confirm on all scoring plays that it is a touchdown.
John Perry will get a page, I guess.
Well, we get to see the kicker. They got rid of both their punter and kicker last year,
right? And
now they got the Henry boys back.
They do.
So these rookies.
Chaz Henry is the punter, and this is Alex Henry, the place kicker. I tell you, that's a bit of a risk, you know, for a team that's supposed to go as far as the Eagles with rookie kickers. Alex Henry is good on the extra point. It's 24-7. We are going to hear from Michael Vick in just a moment. It's 24-7 Steelers. Gerald Jones put up the first points, and now this onside kick try is recovered by the Steelers. And we go down to Pam. Pam?
Well, first of all, Michael, there was a report that you were kind of pushed into going to Philadelphia, that you really didn't want to go. Explain.
You know, I'm a competitor, so, you know, I think it was just taken out of content. You know, I wanted to go somewhere and play, but it just wasn't the situation. My body wasn't fit for it. You know, in my mind, I believed it, but, you know, I just had to, you know, talk to my counselor and the people around me, and they helped me make the decision. But at the end of the day, I had to make the ultimate decision. And after talking to Andy, I just felt like Philly was the best place so that I could learn and play the quarterback position.
And, you know, along that lines, let's get back into football. Where are some of the areas that you'll try to grow? You made leaps and bounds last year. What are some of the areas that you want to concentrate on now?
Well, I think there's always room for growth as a quarterback. You know, mainly, you know, just keep my eyes on the defense, you know, protections, and decision making, which is very important. And obviously tonight, you know, I didn't make the best of decisions, and you know, you got to learn from it. And I'm usually pretty good in that department, so I'm very heartbroken right now.
Do you want to just yoke, you know, Young sometimes because of the dream team thing? You started this whole can of worms, and now I had a guy say to me, "Oh, that's some dream team out there now." How do you guys, you know, deal with that?
You know, I guess that we're gonna have to deal with throughout the rest of the season. I think, you know, we'll get through it. We just gotta live up to it. So I don't think it'll be hard. We just gotta get it all together. You know, reassess our situation and just come out each and every week fine.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Back to you, Joe.
All right, that was Clay on the carry. After the unsuccessful onside kick try, Clay was good for 4, and now Philadelphia spends their final timeout.
You know what's interesting is, you know, you listen to Michael Vick, all these players now have been asked about this whole dream team thing, and it's as if they've won a Super Bowl and they're being asked questions about how are you going to repeat. They're like these questions that Green Bay's being asked. It's very similar now to what Philadelphia is being asked, and here we are. We're not even out of the month of August yet, and that's going to happen next week after next week's preseason game and after every single regular season game, good or bad. And that's going to take a toll. How they handle that, I think, is going to have as much to do with their ultimate success is how they put it together out there on the field.
Personally, I don't even know why that would even be an issue. Dream team, I don't see the impact of that, because you sign a great corner and bring in a good defensive tackle, you know, on a running back that was really given up on in Miami, and a backup quarterback. I don't see the dream team thing at all. It's nothing like what we saw with the Miami Heat this past season. They just play. Hey, just go out there and play. I don't see it. If it was Green Bay, to me, would have more pressure than Philadelphia ever would.
I agree, but I agree with that. I don't look at this team as a stacked team like they're being portrayed as, but the questions are there. You know, I mean, that's the media perception, and that's the questions that they're going to continually be asked, and that will take a toll.
Troy, Vince Young said it, so I don't, you know.
Here is a pass caught by Eric Greenwood in a gain of 10.
And nor does Andy Reid.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in talking with him, you say, hey, you know, you've always kind of gotten off to a slow start, and yet now immediately, not that there's not expectations anyway, but immediately there's these expectations for this team. And in typical Andy fashion, he doesn't care. You know, I mean, he doesn't care that he hired an offensive line coach to coach his defense. It's what he thought was best. I admire him for that. I respect Andy for doing the things that he's done to give himself a chance to win, and it's what he believes. And as far as expectations, he says, who cares? We're just going to go out and play. I don't care. We don't worry about that stuff.
They have enough leaders to keep that under right. And once again, I think John said it. I don't put a whole lot of stock into that.
Here is a punt, and it's down well downfield by the Steelers just outside the 5, and we look at some of the old faces ending up in new places. Donovan McNabb is with the Vikings. Matt Hasselbeck, as we talked about earlier, is with Tennessee. But Hainsworth and Ocho Cinco with the Patriots. Reggie Bush has left the Saints and is now with the Dolphins. And then Plexico Burress, there was interest from his old team, the Steelers, interest evidently from his old team, the Giants, and he ends up with the Jets.
And Cobb wasn't mentioned in that list.
Cobb was not mentioned in that, but now he's been traded away from Philadelphia to Arizona.
I always find it more interesting if a quarterback is made. Hainsworth, that's a situation where, you know, maybe they can turn him around and get him to play in New England. Belichick probably can do that more, you know, than anybody else. But the real key is Cobb out in Arizona. Arizona, don't forget, a couple of years ago was in the Super Bowl. And now they lose Warner, and then Cobb, they've been looking. Everybody's looking for a franchise quarterback. And Andy gave up on him in Troy. Isn't Andy Reid a pretty good
I don't know that he gave up on him. I think he is. I don't know that he gave up on him as much as he says, all right, I've got my franchise quarterback, or at least my starting quarterback for the next few years in Michael Vick, and I can get a first-rounder in Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie and a second-round pick to go with that. It's pretty good.
2-minute warning. 2 minutes left in Pittsburgh. Steeler highlights tonight. Not much for the Eagles to feel good about as they head back across the state. And again, they will have a home game against the Browns next Thursday. Then they're at the Jets. And they open up the regular season at St. Louis against the Rams.
I want to thank you guys for having me on here. It's been fun. I also want to wish my partners, your coach, Jimmy Johnson, and Michael Strahan. I believe they're doing a game tomorrow night in Jacksonville.
They are, as the Falcons head to Jacksonville, take on the Jaguars, and that starts at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, and high def only on Fox.
I bet they didn't prepare like you did, though.
Well, if I've got a bad thing, I over prepare, and it's always been something I've worked hard on trying, but I can't help myself, Troy. When computers came out, I mean, I've been carrying them with me forever, and I'm a tweeter. I do the
way you're wired, you know.
Yeah, I am.
He's wired because he's had 9 cups of coffee.
That's funny. He said, "No,
that's why he's wired."
I got to get on this tweeting thing so that the guys up at Fox will get off my case a little bit. I just don't understand why I got to do that, though. I think you can get in trouble doing that.
Some guys have.
Yes, they have.
2nd and 10.
You're not a tweeter, are you?
Not really.
Tweet? No, I know Troy does. He's been over here pounding that thing all night long.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you've been doing, tweeting?
No.
Oh, you hadn't?
No, I haven't been doing anything with it.
Look at me.
Quit looking at me.
Okay.
By the way, it is Ben Altop's birthday, the guy who makes the booth go for us here week in and week out. And Dave Schwalbe's birthday is on Saturday, and he's our spotter up here helping us with whatever strikes us at the moment. It's 4th down and 2 now, and the Eagles will try and pick up a first down.
Want to wish Ben good luck with his wedding. That's a good thing. Happy for him.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, got married.
You guys cleared the air last year at the Super Bowl.
Well, we're not ever going to go ride horses together. But yeah, we're good. We're solid. I'm happy for him. I did that 3 times. It never settled me down, I don't guess. I never quite figured it out.
The marriage thing?
The marriage thing.
Yeah.
But I'm happy for him.
Yeah, that was like it was like the royal wedding here in Pittsburgh. I mean, not yours, his.
Oh. No. I told you I'm sensitive.
No, I know.
That hurt
I know.
my feelings.
No, but I was actually serious. The coverage that it got was, I happened to be here in Pittsburgh at the time, was over the top.
Yeah. They say he's changed. They say he's a great teammate and everything. So that's nothing but good for Steeler fans.
Kafka is showing off his arm as Harper makes a catch, a gain of 13.
Can you really, Troy, I mean, we're just killing time here, 54 seconds remaining. Can you evaluate a quarterback like this and say, okay, that's a nice sideline route, you dug it out there?
Yeah, I think it's hard, Terry. I mean, so much of it I think has to occur during these practices, and but for the second-year player, this is, that's usually when you have all your growth, and to not get to have an off season, a lot of these second-year players they're not going to develop the way they would have otherwise.
Because of the lockout, because of no OTAs, because of really no contact with their coaches or being even in the building.
And I would tell everyone that pass he just completed is one of the hardest passes, because the corner had dropped back, or the linebacker, and he had to find that perfect little drop zone and drop it down inside between the corner and the safety, and he did a nice job of that.
Gets a first down to the 20, and Kafka is trying to give this Eagles offense, even though it's second, third, some fourth string guys mixed in, trying to give them a little lift on their way out of the stadium. And now Kafka, who has a 17-yard run, carries it for 7.
He moves pretty good. We've seen that now a couple of times when he's had pressure off the edge and nowhere to really go with the ball. He's been able to move and pick up good yardage.
Kafka, who played at Northwestern, completes it for a first down, and out of bounds with a catch is Rod Harper. Gain of 6, and it sets up a 1st and goal. That first string defense for the Steelers was outstanding. The Eagles have turned the ball over 5 times in this game. 1 fumble, 4 interceptions. The Steelers have not turned it over once, despite playing 3 quarterbacks and multiple running backs. Here's another completion for a touchdown, and it's Gerald Jones who gets in again.
Just another perfectly thrown ball by Kafka. I mean, if he puts that behind him, then you've got a defender who's in a position to make the play, but because of the placement of the ball, he's able to then catch it, turn, and get it inside the pylon for the touchdown.
And that score is confirmed. Down to John Perry, the referee. So this to make it a 10-point game. And to give Bobby April maybe a chance to see his hands team try to come up with an onside kick, maybe just for grins, or kick it deep and head for the bus.
Well, I'll tell you, I mentioned Marty Mornowitz said, hey, no, our backup is Vince Young. I'm not trying to turn this into a competition, but how could it not be? The night that Mike Kafka has had here, and I know that Vince Young has struggled in camp. He had a nice performance last week in the first preseason game, better than really he had shown throughout the training camp practices, and came out here tonight and did okay, but had the 1 interception, and then Kafka comes in and does what he did, 152 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Pretty nice night.
Well, I would say the key here, the difference is not only the way he performed, but also the fact that he's been in the system for 2 years. That elevates him ahead of Young.
Let's
automatically moves him ahead of Young, I think.
Let's take a look at some of the quarterbacks, young guys around the league, and I'll ask you who of this group will have the biggest impact on their team in 2011.
Well, all 4 of those, if those teams do anything at all, you're looking at Cobb, Bradford, Freeman, Stafford, all of those kids. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like them all. I mean, I like Josh Freeman. I'm looking forward. We've got some Rams games on the schedule early. I'm really looking forward to watching Sam Bradford. I liked him coming out of Oklahoma, and I was really impressed with him last year as a rookie.
Here is an onside kick recovered by Tyler Grisham. And the team start to push and shove. Meanwhile, it's Sam Bradford guys under the direction of Josh McDaniels, who is the first-year offensive coordinator in St. Louis. I tell you, the early returns out of that city and the way they played Indianapolis week 1 and some of the youth they have. Laurinaitis, a very good middle linebacker. I mean, there's some things there now that people in St. Louis, they were a win away from getting into the playoffs last year, are excited about, and for good reason.
Yeah, I like the Rams along with Troy. I also like the Lions. Those are two big teams right there. I think all our viewers should get excited about it and watch them early and see what happens.
TB, enjoyed you, buddy.
Hey, man, don't forget, email me, email or write a letter, David Hill. Just keep me posted, all right?
Yes.
I'll keep my bags packed.
All right. No, hey, you
Thanks
are
for
welcome
having me,
anytime, and it was a pleasure.
Thanks.
Having you.
My pleasure.
Take a break, come back, and wrap up our night in Pittsburgh, the town that Terry owned in the 70s after this.